He entered the world as Herman Webster Mudgett, May 16, 1861. The soil was Gilmanton, New Hampshire, the home a poisoned well. He was the third child. His father, Levi Horton Mudgett, was not a provider. He was a terror. An alcoholic whose rage was a language the whole family learned to speak. Despite the abuse, the boy was preternaturally bright, a brilliant student. His mind was a sharp, glittering thing. This made him a target. The bullies sought to break that calm superiority. They led him to a doctor's office, a place of sanctioned death. They forced him to stand before a human skeleton. They placed the skeletal hands upon his living face. The chill was not merely bone-deep, it was soul-deep. A primal fright surged, and then it evaporated. The fear did not shatter him, it crystallized into something else. A dark, pure fascination. That moment did not haunt young Herman, it claimed him. It became his origin story. An obsession with death took root. It was not a passing macabre interest, it was a compulsion. Animals disappeared from the neighborhood. He dissected them with a methodical, curious precision, a hobby to understand the machinery of cessation. He graduated high school at 16, a prodigy with a secret life. He married Clara Lovering. They had a son, Robert. The portrait of domesticity was a careful forgery. His ambitions were elsewhere. The University of Vermont could not hold him. He left after a year. Then, Michigan, the Department of Medicine and Surgery. Here, his education truly began. He stole cadavers from the laboratory. He disfigured the bodies with a sculptor's intent. This was not mere theft, it was a rehearsal. He engineered insurance frauds, claiming these mangled forms were accident victims, a lucrative, ghoulish practice. He abandoned Clara and Robert without a backward glance. He became a ghost, drifting through towns and schemes. His lust for wealth was not a simple greed, it was a fatal engine. It would draw countless souls into its gears. In Music Forks, New York, he was seen with a young boy. The boy vanished. Holmes offered a smooth, plausible tale. The child had returned to Massachusetts. The authorities accepted it. No questions, no investigation, a silent testament to his convincing charm. He took a position as an asylum keeper. He quit within days, the institutional madness perhaps too mundane. In Philadelphia, he worked in a drugstore. A child died after taking medicine purchased there. The cause was unclear. Holmes expressed somber regrets. He denied any involvement. Then he was gone again, a shadow slipping from one city to the next. A rebirth required a new name. Herman Mudgett was buried. Henry Howard Holmes was named. A name for a new man, a sharper tool for his craft. He was still married to Clara. This did not matter. He married Maida Belknap, a bigamous union. A daughter, Lucy Theodate, was born. He attempted to legally divorce Clara. He failed. The law moved too slowly for his appetites. He married again, a third wife, Georgiana Yoke. The lies stacked like bricks. Chicago awaited. Elizabeth S. Holton's drugstore became his stage. He proved himself indispensable, not just hardworking. He was a marvel of diligence and charm. He bought the business from the aging Mrs. Holton. He was not just an employee now. He was an owner, a proprietor, a man with a foundation upon which to build his true, monstrous masterpiece. The world saw a rising entrepreneur. It did not see the blueprint taking shape in his mind, a building designed not for commerce, but for consumption. The widow Holton transferred the pharmacy deed to him. Afterwards, she dissolved from public view. Inquiries met a rehearsed explanation, a coastal retirement in California, proximity to kin, the story held. He acquired a vacant plot directly opposite. His grand project commenced. The structure locals dubbed the castle began its ascent. It was not an inn, it was an ingenious contraption. Its street level presented a series of bustling storefronts, a facade of normal trade. Beyond this veil, the building's true nature metastasized. The layout was a masterclass in disorientation. Corridors twisted into abrupt dead ends. Staircases climbed to sealed ceilings. Interior doors lacked internal handles. This was not design, it was predation given form. He maintained a perpetual churn of labor. Construction crews were cycled with ruthless frequency. No single individual comprehended the full plan. Then came Benjamin Peitzel, a craftsman with a shadowed history. Peitzel evolved into his principal accomplice, a partner for the physical fabrication. A visitor might turn a key and confront unyielding masonry. They would step into an appointed chamber. A soft metallic sigh would follow. The sweet, rotten odor of illuminating gas would saturate the space. Panic would rise. The exit would prove immovable. Or, if breached, the passage beyond would offer only further confusion. A warren engineered to confound and capture. Holmes alone possessed the mental map. Holmes alone knew the final count. The top floor contained leased living quarters. The middle level and the subterranean depths housed the engine of his enterprise, the intricate suite of atrocities. Pivoting panels rotated on silent hinges. Deceptive walls slid aside. Certain spaces offered a multitude of exits, others offered none. Soundproof vaults lay concealed below the boards. Sheet iron sheathed the interiors, absorbing all outcry. His personal suite featured a concealed portal. located within the washroom. It dropped onto a tight, descending flight. This led to a lightless holding cell. A wide, polished trough was installed there. Its purpose was not linen, it was for disposal. A particular chamber, elegantly appointed, was fitted with gas lines. He would secure his prey within. Then, from a connecting closet, he would activate the flow and observe. A second trough stood ready for the transfer. Each threshold, numerous steps, connected to a delicate network of alerts. Motion in a corridor, a footfall on a stair, a discreet bell would activate in his private quarters. He received constant warning. He maintained absolute dominion. When law enforcement finally penetrated the lower level, they uncovered the remains, a profusion of skeletal fragments. Many were from beasts, some were not. Minute fragile, the bones of the very young, perhaps 6 or 7 years. The cellar exposed the full enterprise. A surgical table, stained black. A woman's sodden garments lay discarded nearby. A second slab for procedures, a furnace for incineration, a collection of precise anatomical instruments, a strange apparatus of torment. Shelves cradled jars of corrosive fluids. His collegiate fixation with cadavers had not abated. His clinical prowess had only honed itself. Prey would arrive via the chute. He would reduce them with methodical skill. He would prepare the articulated frames. He marketed the organs, the clean skeletons, to anatomical dealers, a merchant of human components. His targets extended beyond patrons. They frequently included his hired help. Within a mere 24 months, he employed more than 150 female secretaries. Several served as his paramours, most hailed from comfortable means. They disappeared into the metropolis. They did not re-establish contact. He occasionally captured their images with his camera. His chosen subjects were youthful, lovely, impressionable before the charismatic proprietor in the overwhelming, anonymous city. One such favorite was Julia Smythe. She served as his lover. She was also lawfully wedded to a man called Ned Connor. At her time of death, she was claimed by 2 men. Connor would, in time, uncover the reality. The revelation would not restore her. It would merely compound the nightmare. Ned Connor saw the truth of the Smythe. He severed all ties. He moved away, leaving Julia Smythe and their young daughter, Pearl, alone with Holmes. The year was 1891. Smythe then delivered news to Holmes. She carried his child. She demanded marriage. He agreed, but he was insistent. There could be no child. It would complicate their union. He proposed a solution, a procedure. She consented. Holmes administered chloroform. He overdosed her. Then he turned to Pearl. The little girl was poisoned. He butchered her remains. When curious parties inquired, he offered a smooth narrative. They had traveled to Iowa, a family wedding. He gave the performance of a concerned beau. To articulate Julia's skeleton, he employed a man named Charles Chappell. He showed Chappell the body. The man took the arms and legs to his workshop. The rest followed. Chappell was hired again, twice. The final time, Holmes refused payment. Chappell, in turn, refused to surrender the finished skeleton. He kept it in his home. Later, on a Boston trip, Holmes met Minnie Williams. A railroad heiress. A courtship began. A romantic entanglement followed. Holmes returned to Chicago. The courtship continued via fervent love letters. In February 1893, Williams joined him. She became his personal stenographer at the hotel. He persuaded her to transfer a property deed, her Fort Worth estate. The recipient was to be an Alexander Bond. Bond was Holmes. By April, the deed was his. She later signed it over to another alias, Benton T. Lyman. Williams then invited her sister, Annie, to Chicago. Shortly after her arrival, Annie and Holmes grew close. They worked together in his office. He asked her to retrieve a file from his private vault. As she searched, he sealed the door. He activated the gas. He then poisoned Minnie. After the World's Fair, Holmes fled Chicago for Fort Worth. He drafted plans for a second castle. The project was abandoned. In July 1894, his past finally snagged him. A horse swindle in St. Louis. His first arrest. His first incarceration. In jail, he met a celebrity outlaw, Marion Hedgepeth, the debonair killer. Holmes confided a scheme, a $10,000 insurance fraud. He would fake his own death. He promised Hedgepeth a commission for a trustworthy lawyer's name. Hedgepeth directed him to Jephthah Howe. The lawyer heard the plan. He deemed it brilliant, yet it failed. The insurance company grew suspicious. They refused the payout. Holmes wisely withdrew the claim. He then formulated a similar scheme with Peitzel. This one involved a fictional inventor, B.F. Perry, killed in a lab explosion. The plan was to use a cadaver. Instead, Holmes chloroformed Peitzel. He doused him in benzene. He burned him alive. He collected the insurance. He then manipulated Peitzel's widow. He gained custody of 3 children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard. They traveled the northern United States. They crossed into Canada. He forced Alice and Nellie into a trunk. He gassed them. He buried their small bodies in a rental house basement. A detective named Frank Jayer found them. He noted Nellie's feet were missing. She had a clubfoot. Holmes had amputated it, a distinctive identifier removed. Jayer followed the trail to Indianapolis. There, Holmes visited a pharmacy. He sought to purchase drugs. The net was tightening. The hunter was now the hunted. The pharmacist grew suspicious. He refused the sale. Holmes departed swiftly, a shadow receding from the counter. Detective Jayer's pursuit was a slow, sure burn. He traced the path of sorrow from city to city. He spoke to landlords. He examined empty rooms. He unearthed the small, tragic graves. Holmes was apprehended in Boston, November 1894. The arrest was quiet, almost mundane. The charge was fraud for the Peitzel insurance scheme, but Jayer knew. The fraud was merely the gateway. The real crimes lay behind it, in brick-lined rooms and makeshift graves. Extradited to Philadelphia, Holmes faced trial. The world began to learn his story. The castle's horrors were laid bare in newsprint. He confessed and then recanted. He offered wild tales. He claimed hypnosis. He blamed destiny. He was a man weaving stories to the very end, hoping one might stick. The evidence was overwhelming. The articulated skeletons, the chemical vats, the testimonies of missing sisters and butchered children. He was found guilty of the murder of Benjamin Peitzel. The sentence was death. In his cell, he wrote a final, outrageous confession. He claimed 27 victims, then he claimed over 200. The numbers were a performance, a last, grand attempt to control the narrative, to cement a legendary infamy. On May 7, 1896, he stood on the gallows. He was calm. He asked for the noose to be positioned carefully to avoid disfigurement. His final words were a warning about his neck's unusual structure. Even then, it was about the body, about its mechanics. The trapdoor opened. His engineered world ended with a sudden, public drop. The castle did not outlive him. It stood for a time, a morbid curiosity. Then it burned. A fire of suspicious origin consumed the labyrinth in 1895. Only ash and stone foundation remained. Later, a post office was built on the site, an ordinary building for ordinary letters, a bureaucratic erasure of the nightmare. His story became a cornerstone of American crime, a blueprint for the serial killer archetype. He was not the first, but he was the first to build a machine for it, a factory of disappearance. His legacy is a chilling testament to a specific evil, the marriage of boundless greed to a surgeon's dispassionate skill, housed within the grinning guise of a charming, ambitious man. The true number of his victims remains his final, kept secret. The bones he sold to medical schools were scattered, lost to study. The ashes from his furnace were dispersed. History offers only fragments, like the small bones Jayer found in Toronto, a partial ledger of the lost. A permanent echo in the silent halls of his invented castle. They were not deterred, they dug deeper. The soil gave way to groundwater, to a layer of half-hardened concrete, a crude sarcophagus. Within it, a skeleton. The skull retained teeth. A necktie clung to the spine. A mustache, a ghost of fashion, still adhered to the desiccated flesh. The body had liquefied into a foul, dark sludge. The suit, however, survived nearly intact. A final, grotesque dignity. An iron crucifix lay in the muck. It bore the serial killer's name. The remains were advanced decay. DNA had surrendered to time. Testing against a living descendant was impossible. The skull, though, was in good condition. The dental records provided the verdict. They matched perfectly. This was, beyond any doubt, the body of H. Holmes. Well, I hope you found that compelling. I've meant to cover Holmes for ages. I kept forgetting. Some of you reminded me, thank you. Many myths surround this man and his castle. Sensationalist newspapers invented wild stories. Holmes himself confessed to impossible crimes after his arrest. He lied prolifically. I believe he committed far more murders than we know. He never admitted to them. He used countless aliases. He traveled constantly. How many women and children simply vanished? We will never know. That boy who went missing. The foul play is obvious. Holmes was responsible. A true monster walked the earth. Regarding his hotel, the so-called castle, its real name was the Inglewood Flats. It was originally 2 stories. He added the third for the 1893 World's Fair. He saw a financial opportunity. He filled it with furniture. The furniture, that was his original scam. He would order expensive pieces from manufacturers. He would not pay the bills. Bailiffs would come searching. He hid the goods in the building's maze. A worker eventually informed on him, revealed the hidden storerooms. So the building was a warehouse for stolen furniture first. The hotel was an afterthought, a way to use the ill-gotten goods. One of his many, many schemes. The building's end, many say it burned after his execution. Not true. It was demolished in the 1940s. They cleared the land for a post office. It was torn down, not burned. His mind was alien compared to what we call human. He operated without compassion, completely vacant of it. The horrors are almost abstract, setting a man ablaze while he lived. The slow hiss of gas in a sealed room, he undoubtedly watched. There's a perverse pleasure there. A relish in the slow exit. And the children, it speaks of a total frozen callousness. Money was the stated motive, the engine, but he must have gotten a kick from the kill. He had to. Why else build that torture chamber? Why design such intricate, careful methods? It was a factory of pain, a locked-door theater, and he had a relatively nice end, didn't he, compared to his victims? A quick drop, a broken neck, no fire, no gas, a clinical death. There's a dark irony there. Anyway, I think that's about it. I'll wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed it. It was my pleasure to bring this to you. Many more exciting ones are coming. Thank you, as always, for your support. I truly, deeply appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.